Art. What is art meant to do? German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche writes, "What is essential in art remains its perfection of existence, its production of perfection and plenitude." Art is essentially affirmation, blessing, deification of existence. For Nietzsche, art is how we say yes to life. He outright denies the existence of pessimistic art. For him, depicting struggle is a heroic deed. Tragedy does not teach resignation. To represent terrible and questionable things is in itself an instinct for power and magnificence in an artist. He does not fear them. There is no such thing as pessimistic art. Art affirms. To paint strife, to sculpt tragedy, is not weakness. It is the most courageous form of art. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche writes, "Whoever climbs the highest mountains laughs at all tragic plays and tragic seriousness." The message is clear. Do not shy away from the terrible, the ugly, and the striking, for within them lies the fuel for the greatest art. Writing and speech too are art. Nietzsche continues, "Of all that is written, I love only what a man has written with his blood. Write with blood, and you will experience that blood is spirit." And he adds, "Whoever writes in blood and aphorisms does not want to be read, but to be learned by heart." The famous author E.B. White echoes this sentiment. Writing is an act of faith, not a trick of grammar. Style is the writer, and therefore what you are. To write is to encode spirit. To read is to decode it. To behold art is to encounter strange blood. To create art is to spill your own. So, will you answer the call to throw your spirit into your craft? Will you write with blood? Will you speak with spirit? Will you create with passion and without fear? With that, I leave you with a quote from a student of the Greeks in Donna Tartt's The Secret History. "The Greeks were different. They had a passion for order and symmetry, much like the Romans. But they knew how foolish it was to deny the unseen world, the old gods, emotion, darkness, barbarism." He looked at the ceiling for a moment, his face almost troubled. "Do you remember what we were speaking of earlier? How bloody, terrible things are sometimes the most beautiful," he said. "It's a very Greek idea, and a very profound one. Beauty is terror. Whatever we call beautiful, we quiver before it. And what could be more terrifying and beautiful to souls like the Greeks or our own than to lose control completely? To throw off the chains of being for an instant, to shatter the accident of our mortal selves." Euripides speaks of the Maenads, heads thrown back, throat to the stars, more like deer than human beings. To be absolutely free. One is quite capable, of course, of working out these destructive passions in more vulgar and less efficient ways. But how glorious to release them in a single burst, to sing, to scream, to dance barefoot in the woods in the dead of night, with no more awareness of mortality than an animal. These are powerful mysteries. The bellowing of bowls, springs of honey bubbling up from the ground. If we are strong enough in our souls, we can rip away the veil and look that naked, terrible beauty right in the face. Let God consume us, devour us, unstring our bones, then spit us out, reborn. And that, to me, is the terrible seduction of Dionysian ritual. Hard for us to imagine that fire of our being. This video was inspired by Nietzsche's works as well as the Nietzsche podcast, which I highly recommend.